Hi, good morning students. Today we will start a new topic which is hydrotherapy. This topic you will also read in electrotherapy and it is also there in exercise therapy. So as the term says, hydrotherapy. Hydro means water, therapy means treatment. So which means that a treatment which is given by using water properties. So let us see how hydrotherapy works and what are those properties of water which help in giving treatment to the patient. Let's begin. Coming to the definition, hydrotherapy is derived from the Greek word hydro and therapy, meaning water and healing. So this means that water can be used in the process of healing and treatment. Hydrotherapy, which was initially also known as hydropathy, which involves the use of water for pain relief. So water can be used in reducing pain. I'm sure that most of you would have heard in your grandparents' house, or even now your parents must be doing this, that whenever they have pain, they try to dip their hands or ankle in a bucket full of warm water. I'm sure you all would have seen this. So because water has so many properties that may help in reducing pain, swelling and other ailments. Hydrotherapy is applied externally either by immersion of the whole body or of parts of the body in water, or without immersion by spraying or pouring water onto the body. So you can dip the entire body in a pool of water, or as we have seen in our home that we have immersed the distal joints of our body in a bucket of water, a tub of water, or also you would have noticed or seen that whenever there is injury, we often dip our hand or pour water over our hand or spray water on the hand. So that is what unique about water. This is what is unique and very interesting about water, that it helps in reducing lot of issues, lot of pain and swelling related to a condition. So let us start with the properties of water. So these terminologies I'm sure you all would have heard in your +2 physics, even 10th class physics. These are very common terminologies. Let us see what it means now. So properties of water are buoyancy, density, hydrostatic pressure and viscosity. So now if you don't remember these terms, we will learn about these terms in little more detail in the consequent slides. So just remember, these are the important properties of water. Because of this property, we are able to manage our patients and their conditions effectively. Let's start with what is buoyancy. So you know that whenever you dip an object into water, the object tries to come up. You can feel that if you are, for instance, if you have played in a pool of water with a ball, you have seen that the ball never sinks. The ball will try to float on the water body. So why it is like that? It is because of the property of buoyancy. Your water innately, the basic nature of water is to throw out objects, which means that the water body doesn't want anything to sink in. It wants, it has some property because of which the object floats, which is known as Archimedes' principle, where when a body is fully or partially submerged in fluid at rest, it experiences an upward thrust equal to the weight of the fluid displaced. So if you are trying to dip a ball, for example, in the water, the weight of the ball and the amount of thrust, the upward force the water body is going to give to the ball will be equal to its own weight. Now again I'll give you some better example. If you yourself wants to float on the, or you want to dip into the water body, if you weigh around 30 kgs, 30 kgs of upward force will be imposed by the water towards you, so that you are in a state of floating. You are not going to sink. So that is the basic property of water. Why I'm trying to emphasize it. Water doesn't want anything to sink. It wants that the objects to float. Now that property is known as buoyancy. Buoyancy means that type amount of pressure or upward thrust the water is going to give on the object, and how much thrust it should give, it will be equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the immersed body. So you can also say that buoyancy is opposite to gravity. Gravity is something which pulls down the object, but buoyancy is something which will push upward an object. So that is a very unique property of a water or a fluid, that it allows the body to float on it, or it allows the body to push up. That is known as buoyancy, and the principle is known as Archimedes principle. So you can see this person in water floating head above the water level. So when a person, if you are jumping into pool of water without any equipments, you can see that the amount of thrust given by the water will be equal to the amount of your weight. Now you come to the other picture. Person with air-filled vest in water, floating head and shoulders above water. Now here the patient is wearing air-filled vest. That means there is added weight because of the air-filled vest. So that person will experience more thrust force as compared to the person who is not wearing any equipment. So basically the amount of weight is dipped, and the amount of force which is experienced is equal to the amount of weight dipped. So person in water with a high concentration of dissolved salt, floating head and shoulders above water. So now you would have heard that it is easier to swim in ocean. It is easier to swim in sea. Why? Because the sea and ocean has a lot of salt, dissolved salt in it. Because of the dissolved salt, it helps in better buoyancy. It gives a better buoyant force to the body. So that is why you can see the three images. The first one where the patient, the person is not wearing any equipment. So if the person has 30 kgs of weight, 30 kgs of buoyant force is being applied to the body. Now there is added weight, there is air vest which a person is wearing. So more amount of thrust is being applied on the person's body. Now if you are in a water body which is of salt, which has a lot of salt in it like ocean and sea, you experience much more buoyancy force. So that was about it. That was buoyancy. Now the next heading says density, but you can also call it as specific gravity. It determines whether the object will float or not. Now you will ask me, but an iron ball sinks in the water body. Iron ball sinks in almost all the fluid. So how do we decide which object will sink and which object will not float? So yes, there is a formula to find out which object will sink and which object will float in the water body. So the density or the specific gravity is equal to the weight of the object divided by weight of equal volume of water displaced. So if this ratio is more than 1, that means your weight of object is more than the weight of equal volume of water, then definitely the body will sink. So 1 kg of object or iron ball and 1 kg of water has different density. They have different weight. Okay, they are, in terms of density, they are different. So that is why an iron ball sinks and a wooden plank, it floats because it is less denser as compared to the water, and iron ball is more dense because the weight of the object upon weight of the equal volume of water, the ratio is always more than 1 in case of iron ball. That is why it sinks, and like a wooden plank, that floats on the water body because the ratio is always less than 1. So this is how we determine whether the object will sink or whether object will float in a water or a fluid. So what I was talking about, density, which is also known as specific gravity. So density of water divided by density of density of object divided by density of water is known as specific gravity. Now coming to the next property of water, which is hydrostatic pressure. You can see the figure, and I think you can understand by seeing the figure that it is the pressure exerted by the water on the immersed body. So you can see these arrows. This is the pressure of the water or the fluid which is exerted in the dipped or the immersed body, known as hydrostatic pressure. So you can see the direction how it is. The buoyancy was in upward direction, because of which the body will come up. But hydrostatic pressure is not that. It is perpendicular to the body immersed. So hydrostatic pressure. Water exerts a perpendicular pressure against the surface of body. You can go back and see the image that the arrows are directed in perpendicular direction against the surface of the body. That is the direction of hydrostatic pressure. It is dependent upon depth of submerged water, density of liquid. It increases as depth and density of liquid increases. So if ever you have done deep ocean swimming or underwater swimming, you would have felt that when you go deep down, when you're going deeper down, you are feeling some kind of pressure, increased pressure, which was not there when you were swimming in probably the superficial surface or even just under the surface. But as you go deeper down the surface, the further deep down of water body, you will feel that some kind of pressure is increasing on your body. That's the hydrostatic pressure. This pressure increases the more deeper you go, and also with the density of liquid. Now what this means, more dense the liquid, more will be the hydrostatic pressure. Again, what is a dense liquid? A dense liquid is like a sea, water, an ocean body, because it has dissolved salt in it. Salt makes it more dense. So more density and deeper the depth increases the hydrostatic pressure on the submerged body. So movement is performed more easily near the surface of water than at greater depth. So if you want to swim in such water bodies, you should swim on the surface. For example, if you want to swim in sea, or if you want to dive into a sea, you need to float or you need to swim on the superficial part of the water body, because the more deeper you go, the depth increases and the hydrostatic pressure also increases, the density of liquid increases, and that also increases the hydrostatic pressure. So these two things we need to think about. Now coming to the next property of water, which is resistance or viscosity. Viscosity refers to the magnitude of internal friction or the resistance specific to the fluid. Now, I'll give you a small example. In one glass, you have plain water, and in the other glass, just keep on mixing either salt or sugar. When you keep on mixing, when you constantly mixing sugar, you will see that the plain water is thinner and the water with excess of sugar will become thicker. That is known as viscosity. It has become more viscous, it has become more resistant. Okay, that is known as viscosity. So we'll talk about viscosity or resistance. If fluid is more viscous, more force is required to create a movement. Now just imagine you have dipped your hand in a bucket of plain water, and the other hand you have dipped in a bucket of water concentrated with sugar, lot of sugar. So if just imagine which in which bucket the movement will be easy. Definitely in bucket A, where there is plain water, because plain water has no dissolved uh, solution in it, so there will be less resistance. But in bucket 2 it's a mixture, so that mixture increases the viscosity. So for you it will be difficult to move your limbs in that water which is concentrated, because it has lot of viscosity, which means that this fluid will provide you lot of resistance. As temperature of water increases, viscosity decreases. Now I can also make you understand resistance of water in different contexts. For example, you are doing shoulder exercises on the surface. Surface means normally, suppose you're sitting on a chair and now you're doing shoulder exercises. Okay, what resistance you're feeling? You will feel only air resistance. Your movement will be simple and smooth. But same movement, if you try to do underwater, you will get resistance. So that is the property of water, that if you do the same exercise underwater, because of the internal viscosity and resistance due to water's nature, the movement will be difficult for you to do as compared to when you do in air or when you do in normal surface. So that is a very good property of water, that if you want to strengthen some muscles, you have to give resistance exercises. So you can do those exercises underwater also. Now coming to the second point, as temperature of water increases, viscosity decreases, because molecules start moving apart from each other. This is beneficial for small weak muscles. Now for example, when you train weaker muscles of a patient underwater, make sure that the water is lukewarm. Water is warm, because that reduces the viscosity, that reduces the resistance provided by the water, and it will be little bit easier for the patient to perform inside the water body. Greater the speed of motion, higher the resistance. So if you have ever tried swimming, the more faster you swim, the more resistance you feel. So if you increase the speed of the motion, the resistance will also increase. So why we are talking about all these things? We can use these properties of water for training the muscles or rehabilitating our patient underwater. Okay, so that is why these are very good properties which can help our patient in for a better treatment. So you can see this image. The faster you move, the more the resistance the body will feel. If you're moving slowly, there is only moderate resistance. Now coming to hydromechanics. What is hydromechanics? Hydromechanics comprise the physical properties and characteristics of fluid in motion. So it consists of physical properties of fluids in motion. When the water is in motion, that properties are known as hydromechanics. So water can be in a laminar flow or a turbulent flow. Laminar flow is movement where all molecules move parallel to each other, typically slow movement, which means that if you have noticed a lake, that water body has a very slow movement. It's not moving fast. Okay, all the particles, all the molecules of the water, they are flowing parallelly to each other. But if you notice a river or a sea, you see it has a turbulent flow. The molecules are not parallel to each other anymore. They are very fast moving molecules. They're very faster. So that is why the term is used as turbulent. Turbulence creates an unstable environment, encouraging the core muscles of the body to become stronger to maintain correct position and posture. When you work against a turbulent flow, you are going to strengthen your muscles a lot. If you are training against a laminar flow is a slow and a smooth movement of water molecules which will not give much resistance to the movement. But if you are doing an exercise in a turbulent flow, you will feel a lot of resistance which will help in much better strengthening of the muscles. Now, we'll talk about the effects of hydrotherapy. What exactly hydrotherapy will do for our body? Why should we take our patient into pool of water? Yes, there are a lot of good properties of water which we can utilize so that we can train our patients better. But what exactly are the effects of hydrotherapy? If you take your patient inside a pool of water, what will it do on the other organs? That we will going to learn in this module. So physiological effects of water. It has effects on musculoskeletal. What does it do? So you know that when you are dipping into a pool of water, you will experience a buoyant force. A buoyant force makes you feel. So when you dip in the pool of water, you will experience that your body is weightless or reduced weight. That is because of the buoyancy property of the water, which helps in feeling that there is decreased weight of your body. Now that also helps reduce weight bearing on the joint affected. For example, if you have a knee osteoarthritis patient and on the normal surface when you treat the patient, because when you're standing on affected the joints will pain more on normal surface. But when you take the same patient underwater, because of decreased weight bearing over the joints, the patient will feel better. There will be lesser pain because lesser weight you are imposing on the pathological joints. So that is one very good effect of water which helps in decreasing weight bearing. It helps in strengthening. Now if you want to train weakened muscles of the patient, because of the property of resistance and viscosity, you can help in strengthening of the muscles. It has low bone density loss. Again, since you are not weight bearing on the affected joint, there will be slow bone density loss as compared to when you are standing on the ground. Next effect is cardiovascular effects. It increases the venous circulation. See, why this happens is there is hydrostatic pressure which is imposed on the body, specifically in the lower limbs. You can see the entire body is undergoing hydrostatic pressure, so which helps in increased circulation of blood flow. There is increased venous circulation, there is increased cardiac output because of the hydrostatic pressure imposed over the body. Now when there is increased cardiac output, It decreases the heart rate and the systolic blood pressure. So this is a very good effect. If your patient has hypertension, uh, you can take such patients under pool of water and treat them, because that will help in reducing their blood pressure and it decreases the heart rate. So that was about musculoskeletal and cardiovascular effects of water. Now coming to respiratory effects. It decreases the vital capacity, it increases the workload, it decreases exercise-induced asthma. In renal effects, there is diuresis. So these are the effects, the normal effects which you will see on every organ when the body is immersed in water. So diuresis means increased urination. If there is increased urination, there will be increased excretion of sodium and potassium, isn't it? That means your kidney will function better. It's functioning better. Psychological effects, the patient will be much more relaxed. So these are really good benefits of water. We have already seen the various good properties of water, and these are such good physiological effects of water which makes us to utilize this as a therapy. So you can see this, all these effects are because of the hydrostatic pressure. So due to hydrostatic pressure, that displaces venous blood proximally. So you can see, imagine that the pressure is at the lower limbs, that pumps up the blood proximally in upward direction, which increases the cardiac volume, which in turn increases stroke volume and cardiac output, and thereby decreasing the heart rate and the blood pressure. Now, you can similarly see that the hydrostatic pressure, because of that, there is increased circulation in the chest cavity, which increases the work of breathing. Now in the upward direction, if you see that, compression of chest wall, because the chest wall is compressed, there is reduced vital capacity. The lung will not expand so much because there is hydrostatic pressure. That reduces the vital capacity, and that will again increase the work of breathing. So basically, if you have noticed that when you swim, you feel little breathless. That is because of hydrostatic pressure. That is normal physiological effects of water body on the immersed body. So again I will repeat, because of hydrostatic pressure, the chest wall gets compressed. So the chest cavity or the chest wall gets compressed, because of which the lung expansion will reduce. The lung expansion reduces, that means the vital capacity will reduce and you have to work harder to breathe. So work of breathing will increase. Similarly, there is increased circulation of blood in the chest cavity, which will again compresses the lung and the work of breathing will increase. So coming to renal effects. So because of the hydrostatic pressure, there will be increased central volume of in the kidney also. The renal blood flow will also increase, which will cause increased urination, which will cause increased excretion of potassium and sodium, and that will help in reducing of edema. Edema is nothing else but swelling. Because of these renal effects due to hydrostatic pressure under water body, that will help in more excretion of urine, more excretion of fluid, excretion of potassium and sodium. That will help in reducing edema. So today we discuss about what is hydrotherapy and why we should use hydrotherapy in a patient. Why? Because water has lot of properties, useful properties which we can utilize while treating or rehabilitating our patients, like buoyancy, like viscosity, hydrostatic pressure, and so on. Then we have also learnt about the effects of hydrotherapy. How does immersing in water or submerging in water affects on our various organs like musculoskeletal system, then you have your cardiovascular system, then you have your pulmonary system, renal system, and psychological effect. So there are lot of beneficial effects which we have seen that if we use hydrotherapy on our patient, that will help in improving our patient with terms of reducing swelling, reducing pain, improving the circulation, thereby reducing the blood pressure and heart rate. Also, it helps in improving strengthening of muscle. It helps in reducing weight bearing on joint. So there are very positive effects of hydrotherapy. So in the next module, we will read ahead much more on hydrotherapy. So thank you for listening. I hope the session was informative and you have understood most of it. Further discussion and doubts will be clarified in the practical session. Thank you so much.